Double roundabout system, I'm going to turn right. So mirror, signal, letting the hill kill some of my road speed off, adjusting the speed, planning to stop, looking to go. Now that yellow truck is going to stop the traffic from the right, so through we go. Change my right hand indicator signal to the left, and now a little acceleration away. Parked vehicles up ahead on the left, up in the third gear.
This video is based on Roadcraft, the handbook for police drivers. The latest edition was written by a working group of police officers from driving schools throughout the country. Its aim is to improve the skill and safety of drivers so that they can make the best use of road and traffic conditions.
Morning everyone. Yeah, there's course 18 starting the old standard response course today.
Standard Response Course 18 consists of serving police officers from all areas of the London Met who've come for a 3-week course to learn the police system of driving and to take an examination which will qualify them to respond to emergency calls. The driving school is in the grounds of the Peel Centre, the Metropolitan Police Training Establishment.
Looking forward to the course, you know, so I'm hoping to pass it. I'll be devastated if I don't.
Morning ladies and gents, standard course 18 starting today please, if you'd like to follow me.
You all come to us as drivers, so we have to ask ourselves first of all, what's the purpose of coming on a driving course when you already hold a driving licence? Well, more than 90% of accidents are caused by driver error. I think you'll agree that there is obviously scope for improvement in driving licence holders. You will at times have to stand in judgment of other people's driving, so it's right that you have got the skills and the background to enable you to do that correctly.
We're not trying to teach you to drive, it's a different style of driving, okay? The police style of driving. Some will find it in 3 weeks fairly easy to take in. 1 or 2 of you might not, but say, work hard. PC white. So it's quite painless, no problem. Right, what you do is, can you just...
The first stage the students have to pass is an eyesight test.
And then I'll come down this end here.
Throughout the 3-week course, everything they do is assessed and marked. Course 18 will have the disadvantage of losing 1 whole day to a bank holiday. Valuable time lost.
Victor, X-ray, Tango, Alpha, India, Uniform, Hotel.
IUH.
What colour's that?
Red. Green.
After this, there is a written examination based on Roadcraft and the Highway Code.
And you've got 1 hour to do it.
A low mark here will result in a student being withdrawn from the course.
PC Singh, 86. PC right, where are you? Yes, well done. 98, just got the 1 road sign wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm a lot happier now I've got the test out of the way. That was my main apprehension.
You've taken the written exam and you've all done very well indeed. So you've got a good knowledge of Roadcraft. And I feel if most people were to actually read the first chapter, they could identify with themselves things like resistance to learning. The first chapter is becoming a better driver. And it talks about attitude, driver attitude. All of us have something to learn as drivers. Now in the next 3 weeks, what you need to do, you need to analyse exactly what it is you're doing. And we will assist you to sort of look at your driving and give you advice and guidance to make the changes, because all of you will have to make changes. Okay, the system of car control, what is it? The purpose of the system of car control is to prevent accidents by providing an approach to hazards which is safe, systematic, simple and applicable in all circumstances. It promotes careful observation, early anticipation and planning, and leaves nothing to chance. It gives the driver time to select the best position, speed and gear to negotiate hazards. Once perfected, the driver approaching a hazard will always be in the correct position on the road, be travelling at the correct speed and have the correct gear engaged. Information phase. Taking, using and giving information runs throughout the system of car control. It is the framework on which the other phases, position, speed, gear and acceleration, depend. The vast majority of accidents occur because drivers aren't taking on board what they're seeing. If you actually look at what you have in front of you, it's like a moving picture. There are hazards, lots of different types of hazards. The big problem is, as drivers drive along the highway, they fail to recognise these hazards. And if they do see them, they don't always react correctly. Now, an example I'd like to give is if you see a pedestrian walking along the footway, but as you're getting closer, you're aware now that he is just getting closer to the edge of the carriageway. And it's what you do about it and how you perceive that particular threat, which is the big weakness in most drivers. Because there are lots of problems, there are lots of threats out there, and people just continue on without doing anything about it. A couple of children on the near side of the road. Notice they have a football and they're playing football. So mirror, seizing it back now, watching them very carefully. I'm going to place myself away from them. I can see the feet under the car. In fact, I'm going to sound the horn and let them know I'm here. He's now looking at me, mirror. So having highlighted the hazard, or you've seen the hazard, you've used your eyes properly by good vision scans, looking ahead, taking in the whole scene, looking at the whole picture in front of you. What we're doing, we're prioritising the hazard. We're dismissing some hazards as not being a threat. Others, we're considering, I'm not happy about that, there's a threat there. Approaching the junction with the intention of turning to the right. So looking to the right hand side, there's a vehicle just coming along here with his indicator on for left. He may be coming to this junction, or he may have left it on after the exit from the roundabout. Now he's pulling up and stopping just after the junction on the left hand side. Most people just do not use their forward vision enough. Vehicle approaching that junction now, and he's bringing his brake lights on. I'm watching him carefully and driving on through. And then we get called to the scene of the accident, and you say to the drivers, well, what happened? I would suggest to you there's one word that invariably comes out rather quickly in their answer. They will say, suddenly. Is that right? Suddenly the car in front of me braked. Suddenly the car pulled out the side road. Well, I will say to you this, very, very few things happen suddenly. The clues are there, but the drivers fail to see them. Acceleration away, van's parked on the left. There's also brake lights on a green car just up here. Looks like he's getting ready to move away, so watch him carefully. So taking information in first is a crucial stage. The second part now of the information phase is actually using that information. Planning how to deal with the identified hazard. Looking well ahead, it's a roundabout with 5 exits. Mirror, lightly braking. Look across the corner, I can see a Shell petrol station. There's a very good chance here that this Shell tanker may be making a delivery there, and he may impede my progress as we make the exit off the roundabout. So he's now moving into the roundabout. He has a space, so I'm moving in as well. Take him a second gear, just holding off the back because he may make a slow turn round here if he's going to make this entry into the petrol station. He's got his brake lights on. Yes, he's definitely going to make an entry into the petrol station. So mirror, got traffic behind us. I'll cancel my left-hand indicator so it's not misinterpreted, and now I can gently drive on now that he's clear. The third part of the information phase is giving information back, such as an indicator signal or sounding the horn. The car on the near side is slowly closing on the vehicle ahead of him, so watching him carefully, just watching to see if he's going to give a headlamp flash, let him know that I'm present here. Remember, the use of the headlamps, never to be used as a rebuke, but they're there to let people know that we're here. And once we've used the headlamps for about 3 or 4 seconds, because it could be misinterpreted as an invitation to pull out. So we take information, we use the information, we give information back.
Until the final day of the course, when they learn whether they've passed or failed, this is the only time the students spend in a classroom. Here they learn the principles of car control.
The expression we're going to use on this course quite frequently, brakes at the slow and gears at the go. So on the approach to the hazard, changing down through intermediate gears serves no purpose. The gear that you want eventually is the gear that's going to take you through the hazard and give you some performance on the exit side. So it's essential that you get your heads around that and actually think about using this block change method of gear changing. Equally, when you pull up and stop, you don't have to change down to a low gear to stop. If the lights change in front of you to red, you stop in the gear that you're in. Now, the new Roadcraft actually shows two methods of steering. It shows pull-push and it shows rotational steering. For 99.9% of the time that you're going to be driving on this course, there won't be any need for you to do anything else but pull-push. The reason is, it gives precise and accurate steering for all normal driving. The part about cornering I want to discuss with you is how we achieve the entry speed into a corner or a bend. And the objective, of course, is to negotiate this curve and exit it in total safety. Now, on the approach to this corner, you've checked your mirror, you've considered the best position for you to be on the road, which is invariably close to the white line in the centre of the carriageway for your best line of vision through the curve. We look across the near side apex of the bend, so it's where the left-hand side of the road here meets the right-hand side of the road. It goes to a little point. That is the limit point. Because when you make your approach, you've got to say to yourself, I have got to stop. I may have to stop at that particular point. Because just around that corner could have been an accident. You just don't know. Now, as you make your approach, what's going to happen at some stage is that limit point is going to move. Well, what's happening is as your road speed is getting slower and you're still reducing road speed, the limit point at the back of the curve, which first of all started to move slowly, is now beginning to speed up. So therefore, if you're getting slower and by reducing road speed, and the limit point is now beginning to speed up, there's got to come a time when the two match. We now have a corresponding amount of new road and new vision in the back of the curve. We can stop within the distance we can see to be clear. Whatever happens in that corner or curve, you have the ability to actually stop and stop safely. And now it's that time, and not before, change into the appropriate gear. You then drive around the curve, keeping an even, constant speed, with the car in perfect balance. What I want to emphasise that this method of cornering isn't the fastest way to corner. It isn't the fastest physical way to corner. You could get around that bend at a much faster rate if you were using other methods. But all you're doing is compromising safety, because you've got to have the ability to stop. So there's very little point in going faster, because all you're doing is now taking a chance. So we've never ever held up our method of cornering, the police method of cornering, as being the fastest way to corner.
Looking forward to getting out in a vehicle and actually doing it. It's quite, although you need the knowledge to actually sit down and see how it's done, the theory side, it'll be nice to actually get out in a vehicle and put it all to practice.
The class is split into squads of 3, each with a dedicated instructor. Their first task is to perform a daily inspection of their vehicles, making sure that they're roadworthy.
The tyre pressures and the tread depths. Any problems with the tyres at all, I want to know about it, first of all. The tyres, at the end of the day, are the only 4 bits of rubber keeping you on the road. And there's only a little bit of that tyre that's in contact with the road at any one time, so we want the best bits of rubber on there that we can. So
We're going to follow 2 squads, led by PC John Pretty and PC Louise Bowen.
So obviously make sure that the logbook refers to that, and then we just go out to the vehicle. And there's a correct way of doing things, and the gear grip lends itself to exactly that. So what we've got in front of us is a 5-speed manual gearbox, and you'll note that the spring-loaded action returns the gear lever into a neutral position between 3 and 4. So if we push up, we'll go into 3. If we come down, we come down into 4th. So we ensure correct gear selection by adopting an effective grip dependent upon the desired choice of gear. And I do this by wrapping the fingers around the top of the lever with the palm facing away and the thumb pointing downwards. Pushing the gear lever away, I can then select first gear. That way, working against the spring action, there is no likelihood at all that the gear lever will actually slip out of my hand. So down into second. Now I no longer have to push against the spring, so I can actually revert the grip back to the thumb up to engage third, down into 4th, and then across into 5th. Now going back down the box, our only problem comes is when we're having to push against the spring again. Going down the box naturally from 5th into 4th would be thumb up. Into 3rd likewise would be the thumb up. But now here's the change when I have to push away, so thumbs down, into second gear and back up into first. So whenever I'm going to first or second gear, then it must be thumbs down in order that the gear grip doesn't slip out. Okay, all happy with that?
Usually the instructors perform a daily demonstration drive. But on this first day, they wish to observe their squad's normal driving habits.
Okay, there's a horse ahead, so I'll talk you through it systematically. So mirror position, okay, so go well wide. Now kill your speed, kill the speed right down. That's it. Now take a lower gear. That's it, good. And now nice and slowly, because anything coming towards will have plenty of time to stop, and they always acknowledge you and say thank you rather than shaking the fist.
Today, the course starts in earnest, on the road, where the teams of 3 alternate drives, watching and learning from each other's mistakes. But first, there is the daily inspection and cockpit drill. Familiarization of controls is vital, especially when working with different vehicles.
Pressing the clutch to relieve the load from the starter motor and to guard against false neutrals. So on the ignition, the engine fires. All the warning lights have gone out with the exception of the brake warning lights covering the foot brake, releasing the handbrake. That goes out when the handbrake's released, showing that all monitored functions are working correctly. The battery's receiving a charge and there's sufficient oil pressure.
Roadcraft suggests that every time a driver uses their vehicle, the brakes are tested. First when stationary, and then on the move.
Drop back quite nicely. Just selecting 4th gear. Light pressure and firmer pressure, and gently off. Okay, from the running brake test, I now know the required pressures to slow and stop the vehicle. The vehicle pulls up firmly, no adverse effect on the steering. And on that occasion, I didn't feel the seatbelt locking, but I'm satisfied that it will lock from the static check that I did earlier.
The first week is a rebuilding process, getting the students to analyse their driving habits.
Just bring your hands up a little bit more on the wheel to a sort of a more 10 to 2 position, not too high, but just so they're just above the top spokes there, that's all.
Okay, now we reduce our speed. So bring in the brakes. Now really feel as though they're biting in, leaving yourself a portion of road in which to make this gear change. Off your brakes now, into the gear and drive around. Okay, secondary application of the brakes there. Why?
Because I haven't taken enough off.
Really, we got our speed right nicely there. There was really no need to be back on the brakes. I think what actually put you off was the approaching car?
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But the thing is, Simon, what we're trying to do is we're trying to plan for that, aren't we? We're not driving for what we see, i.e. that junction is not occupied. What we're thinking of, potentially a car could come round there. Is it really going to put me off?
That's it, Mirror, nice wide course. If you get yourself out early rather than emerging from behind, the earlier you get out, the more obvious you are to other vehicles, the more you present yourself.
Now I'm going to turn right at the give way, mirror. Signal, adjust the road speed now. When approaching from the opposite direction, lightly on the brakes, I'm looking right. Early vision, early decision, just rolling forward, just trying to keep the weight of the car, just gently rolling up to the give way line. With 2 vehicles.
The instructors are trying to develop thinking drivers who are aware of their surroundings, who use their mirrors to good effect and give the necessary signals in good time. Drivers who use good vision scans and anticipate rather than simply reacting to hazards as they occur.
And out we go. Little brisk acceleration. Moving into second gear. Look well ahead now, the very end of the road.
Just checking the mirror, gently bringing in the brakes then, as the gap starts to decrease. Off the brakes now, gear for the speed, and now drive out of the hazard. So all the time, considering the hazard, looking for it nice and early, and then doing something about it in a systematic fashion. And as long as each of the phases are considered in sequence, it's not that we've got to use them all, but as long as they're actually considered in sequence, then we're keeping the vehicle nice and safe. Planning early, doing things early. Not to mislead, throw back our solid white line markings, and our intention is now to turn to the right hand side. Change of road surface, start in the system, mirror, indicator, and now coming into the designated lane, straight line braking, taking off all the excess speed, then watching the red one coming towards. You may have to slow with the pedal cyclist in the centre of the road, engage in a first gear, and now pulling off. Just a check over the shoulder then for the blind spot, just in case there's anything in there. Okay, there's a junction now coming up on the left-hand side. We can see the plan board in the trees, and that's where we're going to turn left. Okay, now you normally get the finger post over on the right-hand side, which marks directly opposite the junction. So mirror, indicator, position, speed. Kill the speed. Really nip it in. Go on, more brakes, more, harder, 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 harder brakes. Good. Off your brakes now. Gear. Second gear, up with the clutch and drive around the curve. That's it, good. So particularly for 90-degree turns, you really have to feel those brakes biting in, really killing that speed.
Almost certainly we're going to be coming down into a first gear here because the speed, the vision is not good enough for anything else. So take the first, check left, yeah, and then feed your wheel round rather than all that. That's where sitting back from it a little bit will give you more room to work your arms.
Yeah.
You're restricted very much on your elbow room at the moment.
Vehicles are braking. Some form of junction up there. Turning left, so mirror, indicator. Try to get the indicator on so before you lift off of the accelerator. Yeah, because in sequence it really should come on before reduction of speed. That's it, good. Like the timing of that. In we go. You've got the right gear grip sorted out for me this morning.
Yeah.
You had a little play with that last night. Yeah. What you have to remember, Simon, is that each pedal has its own take-up point, an amount of free play, before it actually starts to do what it was designed to. So depressing the pedals with care will eliminate jerky acceleration, braking, or our gear changes. What we want from you is a silky smooth feel through the pedals. Off the drive, now bring in the brakes so that they relate to stopping at the giveaway. Now that's too much. That's too much. We're going to stop before. You've just released the pressure. Okay, handbrake on.
The braking's done in one nice long progressive movement, so that the initial free play is taken up. We get a bit of weight onto the nose of the vehicle. The vehicle then, once you've got the weight on the nose of the vehicle, you can then go into the fairly firm braking stage where the bulk of the speed is taken off, and just before the speed is correct, we start to feed the brakes back out again so that the weight is redistributed nice and evenly and the speed is correct.
When changing down to a lower gear, you have to match the transmission speed. The higher the speed and the lower the gear that you're wanting to go into, the more that you have to blip the throttle. So gear grip, down with the clutch, into neutral and across, rev. Could have been a bit strong. Yeah, be powerful with it. That's it. Into gear, gradually bring out. Yeah, lovely. So into second then. So down with the clutch and across, rev. Okay, that's not bad at all. Quite a nice gear change.
Okay, back to third again because you've got one threatening from the right there, and that'll give you a bit more flexibility if it does come out on you. Just ease back, don't really need to brake particularly heavily there. As soon as you actually see a threat, yeah, I mean it may be a totally empty junction which you don't necessarily need. You've got good vision and you don't need to go to a lower gear. It might be a junction that you can't see a lot of. We're going to go left into this one here though. We've got a little deceleration lane to get into as well. So take yourself in there, firm up the brakes in the deceleration lane, firm them up, and then off in a second. That's it. As I say, if you've got no vision into the junction, then you may choose to go to a lower gear, but certainly if you've got a vehicle sitting in a junction threatening to come out, you want a nice flexible gear engaged. When approaching green lights, always make sure you approach with a nice flexible gear engaged.
Yeah.
Because if you reach the lights and the lights change against you, at this point you want another mirror check. Because if you reach the lights and you're literally at the point of no return, you've got to make a very, very quick decision as to whether you're going to stop or go. And at that point you really need to know what's directly behind you so you can make that decision very quickly.
Normally we would separate braking and changing of gears, but sometimes it is advantageous to overlap them. Okay, and we will turn left at the bottom, so mirror, signal, then speed. Good. Reducing the brakes, setting the steering on, first gear. No, got to check, haven't you? Got to check. No, let's make the point clear. You have to stop. So there's nothing wrong with applying brakes and holding the brakes. Yeah, engaging first gear on the roll but still braking. First gear is one of those ones where an overlap is conceivable because you don't know whether you can go, but you're at such a speed that only first gear will do.
Yeah.
So hold the brakes, first gear, right, left, right again, release brakes, and out we go.
Yeah.
Right, okay, away we go.
Okay, there's a junction on the right. At that junction I want to turn right there. So on the down gradient you'll need to do quite a bit of braking because as soon as you come off the brakes the car's going to run on, so get a good degree of speed off here. And you might even overlap that braking and gear changing because of the fact that it's... Yeah, if it feels at that point the natural thing to do and that is the right thing to do and you're not losing an advantage and you're gaining one, which we were, then that is one of the times when it's perfectly permissible.
It's 4:45, and the students are returning from their first full day out on the road.
Okay, good. Leave a nice little gap between you and the BMW here, just so that if he stalls and breaks down, we're not stranded and stuck right up his bumper. And if need be, if he suddenly, the hazard lights come on and we need to get round him, well, we can get round and get clear of the junction. On a safety line, it also allows for any rollback that he might have as he moves away as well. The students do learn from one another. It would be unusual on a car to have 3 students of equal ability. The better the student is, the more the others are going to learn from them, and they draw one another along together. They all improve at different rates.
No, I'm just thinking, what disaster.
No, not at all. Get worse to get better.
But relax, because I sensed there you were a little bit the old white knuckles job kind of thing.
I've been driving for quite a while now, and obviously you get lots of little habits, bad habits I think you can call them. It's a question of they're now training you, not retraining you, but training you to do it a certain way, to the Roadcraft way.
And the next hazard you've got to do is the right-hand bend, so you can literally start to pick up your position nice and early, right here on the straight, get yourself in there. The earlier that you get your position into the right-hand bend, the easier it is to maintain in the bend.
You need to consider 3 things when deciding where to position your vehicle for cornering.
Mirror, plate of safety just for this one in case he's going to stay out there even longer on the blue van as well.
Safety, information needs, and reducing the tightness of a bend. But generally speaking, for a right-hand bend, you'll position towards the near side, and for a left-hand bend, you'll position towards the centre of the carriageway.
Okay, our position is set, correct speed for the curve, off your brakes, applying a little drive. That's it. Now it's starting to tighten, so just backing it off slightly. No need to brake, no need to brake. I'll tell you again when to brake, yeah? And applying the drive over the rumble strips and up into 4th gear, slowly.
It rushed the game, wasn't it?
Okay, simple left-hander into a right-hander. Now this one's tight, so mirror will start to brake. That's it. Off your brakes, 2nd gear. That's it, good.
To aid in their cornering, an explanation of the limit point is repeated.
And if we actually look at what we've got now, is where I can see no further around that road. And of course, the limit point could be a hedge, it could be a curb line, it could be a parked car. So as we approach, this is our limit point, this is us, and all of a sudden what will happen, just as that escort now is doing, he's losing road. So brake, 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 and all of a sudden what will happen is your limit point will start to move at the same rate as the car. And it's at that point that we say that the limit point is matched. So we are at correct speed, at a correct amount of distance in order to brake should it be necessary, and it's at that moment that we can take our gear. I want you to think about how we're involving the system with the bend work, because the whole objective is to remain safe, systematic, smooth, then progressive, not inducing the speed until we've got everything else right. So the timing of it is vitally important. Give yourself time, feel comfortable with what you're doing. Your tummy will tell you whether you're comfortable or not, because if it starts to churn, then you know you're doing something wrong, okay? So look at this limit point, is it moving? Can I still stop in this distance? Yeah, I think I can. Starting to move now?
Yeah.
Yeah, So I can start to chase it round. Off we go to a straight section of road then. What I'm asking myself, the question that begs to be answered when being able to stop in the distance that I can see to be clear, is if I was to anchor up, like now, quickly, I'm miles away from the bend, aren't I? And yet I seem to be coming down to it quite rapidly. So that's fine, checking the mirrors. Positioning now towards where the imaginary white line would be, to a loss of vision. We see trees ahead, so the road must go left or right. It goes right. Mirrors off drive, gently bringing the brakes. Now it's starting to open up nicely. Holding this position, starting to apply the drive out. Mirror position. Starting to come back into the near side, straightening out our line and taking the coring forces off the vehicle. Mirror off the drive, gently back onto the brakes. Must be able to stop in this distance. Happy with that. The limit points unfolding nicely around to the right hand side now, picking the view up, picking the vision up, because obviously that is vitally important to how quick we can progress down here. You know, speed is always relative. I can't do 100 mile an hour down here. And just to prove the point, I'm doing 25. So vehicle doing 25 towards, it's 50 mile an hour approach speed on this type of road. Would you do 50 mile an hour down here if you knew it was clear? No, that's the way to think about it. Straight line approach, loss of vision, looking up in our seat. Remember, more road that we can see, more speed, mirrors, off the drive again, gently start to bring in the brakes, firming up the brake pressure, gripping the wheel more tightly as we come down. Limit points moving away quite nicely, release the brakes, apply the drive. Wet road surface here.
Good, limit points moving, it's running now, power through. This one's static for the moment, so we just stay lifted off the gas. Now we go back on the gas as it runs away from us. The tighter the bend, the more quickly the limit point will go away from you. It'll start to move and then suddenly it'll go away. A nice open bend, you'll actually be able to watch the limit point being matched with you all the way through. Okay, little stock phrase here. We've got a junction on the left and a bend to the right, so it's a cross-flow traffic opportunity. Vehicles out of an area that you can't see into, going across an area that you've previously checked as clear. So effectively, a vehicle coming out of that area could cut your braking distance down quite dramatically, suddenly. So it's worth, when you have that kind of set of circumstances, taking off a little bit more speed than is necessary. Within the 30s there, we're always going to cope with that. If you've got one very close behind and you're going into an area of potential danger, it might even be worthwhile just showing some brake lights into the hazard. I don't mean sticking the brakes on to cause him inconvenience, but if he sees your brake lights coming on, he's going to be more inclined to just ease off you a little bit. What you don't want to do is obviously speed up to make the distance up away from him, otherwise you're going to force yourself into danger even quicker. How'd it go on today?
Yes, not too bad, not too bad. Quite a lot of pressure, but it's good, still enjoying it. So I know Claire and Steve are a little bit better, so we feel more confident to be able to ask questions, and by that way you learn as much perhaps sitting in the back, watching somebody else driving and watching what's going on, as well as driving yourself.
We can see by the exhaust fumes then this guy's just nearly started his journey. He's indicating now to the left at the crossroads and we're going to go right. Mirror, indicator, position is set, off the drive and now considering the speed. Getting the speed correct for the hazard, engaging our second gear, lifting the clutch up and now applying the drive around. So picking the view up right to the top of the road, we can see a red traffic light down there, parked vehicles, so we'll keep a nice wide berth, place the safety away from these parked vehicles, bearing in mind any one of them could pull off at any stage.
So all these boots open, try and see the feet emerge just the other side of that preview before we can actually see them. Quite a large vehicle, obscuring the pedestrians. Always try and have a look underneath and into the mirrors for eye contact, vehicles that are occupied, etc.
Restaurant area with a car now threatening, convertible coming out from the petrol station, and this is a gap where that type of vehicle may want to use it, so I'm just easing back for actually rather than attacking it. Yeah. Again, you're just thinking of what if.
It's common trait is to steer where you look. As you look across the right, you end up steering there. But keep rechecking your position, check the limit point, check the vision and recheck your position. Yeah, so your vision scans are always moving and not staring. Okay, we've got to slow on the road here, so mirror, get your position nicely sorted out in the straight. And there's the bend sign, which is all hidden in the foliage, which this time of the year is particularly topical. A lot of these hedges have now grown out, and they will conceal an awful lot of warning signs.
Right, now try and marry up 30 with the signs. That's it, that's good. Okay, we're in a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, and that obviously is denoted by lampposts being less than 200 yards apart.
What's the last road sign you passed?
Horse,
Well
with
done.
a person on it.
Yeah. See the white paint on the right hand side?
Yeah,
There's got to be a junction. There's no signs for it, but there's got to be a junction there, hasn't there? Mirror check and a place of safety from the mouth of the junction. Okay, just watch your line as you come through. Make sure you've got full vision before you make a straight line out.
Suddenly we've got lane markings, so it could mean some sort of junction. Lo and behold, there it is, and we're turning right. Mirror, no need for a signal. First gear on the roll. Right, left, right again.
If you have a look at the road that you're on, the sides of the road are very well chewed where heavy vehicles have driven this road before and met one another and had to take to the banks to avoid. So this road's obviously well used by heavy vehicles. And in actual fact what we've got now is we've got the works access signs. Wherever you get a works access you are likely to get mud and shale etc. drawn out onto the road surface. So be prepared for that, the fact that the road could well be well strewn with debris just around the bend. On a dry road like today, not going to cause you very many problems, but on a wet day, the wet mud could cause you a lot of problems, especially if it's on a bend. And here you go, here's the mud and the shale all over the road surface with the works access. Yeah, this is where it becomes very much single track and absolutely no idea what's going to be around the bend because the foliage is just too high. And yeah, that's a very good observation. Link is the black lines on the road, the skid marks on the road, and obviously people have met on that bend and it's been tight before. If you can see that before you get to the bend, then you've got advance warning that this is going to be a very restricted vision bend. There's another thing here, look, double wheelbase skid marks. Yeah. So obviously wide vehicles use this route.
Okay, top of the road we're going to turn left. So there's some form of junction we expect is brake lights. There they are. So mirror, signal if it's required. There's the horse there as well. So nice and slowly, not wishing to frighten it. Up into first now. Check right, left, right again. Quite an interesting part of the road to actually park your horse on a blind bend. National speed limit sign, so we want a progressive gear, and that looks fairly fresh. And there's your horse! What an observation, Link! That's right, that looked fairly steamy and fresh to me. Brakes, brakes, brakes. Off your clutch. Okay, mirror position. But simple, isn't it? Horsemen here in the road looking for horses, and there they are. What a surprise. Okay.
I'm following this lorry down the road now, and it looks to be quite a bendy piece of road here. I don't want to be too close to this lorry when I'm positioning for the overtake because obviously he's going to block all my vision. So I'm using my position now towards the near side, and I can see we've got a row of vehicles come towards me. It looks like we've got a loss of vision. There's a possibility of a bend going round to the right. So a lot of people would like to move out towards the offside here to look for their vision, but if in fact I use the mirrors and move towards the near side, I can now start to see a lot more vision on that bend. It's quite obviously overtake's not on at the moment, so I haven't got the vision to get that overtake in, but I'm still looking from this position, keeping a nice gap between myself and the lorry in front. I've got a parked vehicle there on the offside of the road and a junction as well. But being in this position now, I can see other vehicles up there in the distance. I've got one coming towards me now. I'm not going to do the overtake on this occasion. I've got another left-hand bend coming up. Now left-hand bends again. It'd be better with these large vehicles in front to use the mirrors and position towards the near side now. Looking down at near side of the lorry, I can actually see those two vehicles in front, and I can actually see the offside of the road, which is where my immediate danger is going to come from if I do the overtake. Now he's starting to move up on these two vehicles, this lorry, and this bend is still sweeping round to the near side. I've got one vehicle coming towards me. Now as I get up towards here now, I just want to see both sides of the road through the near side here, and then I can start to think about moving out. Let's just see how this road develops now. I'm still looking down the near side, and we've got several vehicles up there at the moment. Now I can see the other side of the road very closely, but I've got other vehicles. So mirrors this time, I'm going to move towards the offside here and have a look up, and I can now see the road is clear quite nicely now for the overtake itself. I will be able to move into that gap between the blue van and the lorry, using the mirrors again and just slotting in with a little bit of acceleration sense. Now we don't want to close on these other vehicles too quickly.
Okay, if we're thinking of doing an overtake, you've got to take into consideration the power and performance of your vehicle, the power and performance of the vehicle to be overtaken, and the manner in which it's also being driven, because the manner in which it's being driven may have quite a bearing on whether you decide to overtake or not. Okay, what we want to do, we want to get ourselves up into a nice contact position with him, slightly offset to him so we've got good vision, and hopefully so you can see the back of the vehicle in front. Now he's going on an overtake, mirror and out, look between the two, check the bit of dead road, right, completely out now, check it's on, power. So all you're doing is you're just moving out, getting that last bit of vision, yes I'm happy, and then applying the power. And if you don't like it, then with no power applied, when you move back in, you go back into exactly the same position as you started from.
So what we're doing in the preparation stages of looking to go is moving up to contact and not wishing to pressurise him so that he actually speeds up. Hugging this white line, can you see the advantage of me being out here rather than where he is? I'm looking through his windscreen for vision, mirror position, happy with that firm acceleration.
Something else to consider, isn't it, with the overtake, if the vehicle in front is wandering about a bit and is rather inconsistent in his positioning, the last thing you want is for him to wander out when you're going for your overtake. So it begs the question, is he even aware of our presence? And does he need to know before we actually commit ourselves with a possible headlamp flash or something just prior to going? And if you do decide that you need one, you've got to just hold for a moment and wait for a reaction. You're going to be just moving up towards the contact position, but don't shut your vision down. If that's not going to offer you a lot of vision, then try and get your vision on the near side to have a look up the inside, because that's where the road is going.
He's found his angling to get round something as well.
Yeah, it is. There's something in front of it. You can tell by the shadow on the road that there's something in front, even if you can't see the vehicle.
He looks as if he's going.
Looks as if he's going. Okay, so mirror, have a look through between and take the gap he's left. Then move up, mirror and out. Out you go, and check that he's left you a hole. Once he's left it, then the power goes on and we go. Up into contact now. Good. Mirror and out to get that contact position and the full vision. And now he's through, power. And then we're in the position we're going to be in the middle of the overtake before we even start it. Good. Just ease it back in again. Okay, we've got a nice little gap developing down there. There's one on an overtake already. So mirror and out with the white van. Just check the gap. Mirror out. The gap is good, so power. Lift. And just slot it back in again now before the oncomers. So you're using acceleration sense to regain your position as well, so you're not showing blazing brake lights to the vehicle behind.
Warning of a roundabout with 4 exits. It's a green directional post, so it's a primary route roundabout. Junction to the left. Got vision under the wheels of the heavy. And I can see a red car, and I can see brake lights under the wheels there, so a mirror. Brake lights from the heavy, lightly bringing the speed down. Splitting my vision here, looking into the roundabout and looking at the heavy, just in case the heavy doesn't go when I anticipate he might. So bringing the speed gently down to a trickle. He's got the space into first gear. There's the gap for us. Now he's indicating right. That may mean all the way around, or it may mean the second exit. See the driver looking back at me in his mirror, indicate we're going to take the next one. On the final approach to a roundabout, it's essential that the driver splits vision between the traffic movement on the roundabout and the vehicle in front. I've been to many accidents whereby a driver has assumed that the vehicle in front is going to drive into the roundabout, and in fact he hasn't. And then they start to move and then they hit the car in front.
And the roundabout I intend to go straight on. Mirror, now just gently bringing in the brakes. Bringing the speed down, looking to the right for the early danger, planning to stop but looking to go. We've got lorries in circuit, just bringing the vehicle down, setting the steering so we're ready to move straight onto the roundabout with the steering set. First gear's in and we're straight out onto the roundabout. Mirror signal now, second gear with the steering set, checking over the shoulder, make a straight line at the exit as there's no vehicles around us at all. Straightest line is the most stable line. Road now goes up to the left hand side with a height restriction away. Easing off the drive, now gently covering my brakes, looking to the right for the early danger, slightly obscured by the foliage, just going to bring a little bit more braking in as there's one more in view, timing my approach. At this roundabout I don't want to commit myself up the inside of the lorry because he's going to cut his line. Mirror once more, gently out onto the roundabout, holding back on the lorry now for safety. Mirror signals, picking up the drive, making sure the lorry's going to hold his line as he comes off the roundabout. Yes, I'm happy with him now, and firming up the drive through and past the lorry. roundabout, looking to the right, one in circuit, timing my approach, watching the black one, off brakes, and just keeping an eye on the escort now. He's cutting right across my path. Mirror signal, and now firming up the exit on the exit as we leave the roundabout. See the danger of committing yourself up the inside of a vehicle in a roundabout. If you commit yourself, whatever they do is going to directly affect you because you've got no means of escape at all. If they come all the way round to the right, they're going to take you with them. We're actually planning to stop. We are planning to stop. But what we're doing is we're using our lateral vision, looking to see if there is a gap that we can then turn to our advantage and time our approach to arrive with the gap and pick that hole. Your obligation is to give way to the right. Dealing with the roundabout is all subsequent to dealing with the traffic to the right. Your primary hazard is the traffic to the right. Your obligation is to give way to the right. Therefore, we must be planning to stop. But the circumstances, if you use your lateral vision early, may well then lend itself to us getting in and going.
Yeah, we've got a second one coming down. We're going to check this first gear. Checking for a gap as we do. So we've got a gap now. Checking over the near side, make sure there's no cyclists. Moving around.
Steering straight.
And then into second gear.
It's all dropping into place quite nicely. So now it would be nice to actually overlay that with a little bit of commentary.
Gentle drive through here, and again mirrors watching the parked vehicles here for anyone.
We commentate to concentrate and anticipate. A running commentary is a very useful training aid as it develops fully the information phase and levels of concentration.
Right, we're travelling on a single carriageway road, one lane each direction, subject to a 30-mile-an-hour speed restriction. The road surface is dry in the main.
Having scanned the whole scene, the driver grades hazards on the basis of threat. All road signs must be mentioned and changes of road surface.
But not too many problems with visibility.
It trains drivers to use their eyes properly
Got a bit of road scarring here.
and think more deeply about the hazards and the risks involved.
I can see through the chain link fencing that we've got vehicles approaching. Mirror.
All drivers would improve how they use their eyes and hazard perception if they were to practice a running commentary from time to time.
In the ghost on, and that Grenard has looked my direction. I'm happy with him. Obviously, from the thought processes and from an instructional point of view, we need to see what's going on inside the head.
There's nothing coming from my right hand side, intent to go straight on, mirror, one behind, into the thing. Watching for the motorbike, he's seen me, indicate, and I'm continuing on petrol forecourt. Just make sure there doesn't seem to be anything pulling out, continue into a 40 zone.
Because it's definitely a completely different style of the way I would have driven before I come up on this course. But hopefully by the end of it, I will be a better driver.
Yeah, it's been great. The natural way that we've been driving for years is having to be turned upside down and applying the system, which doesn't come naturally, but it's slowly been fed in during the day. It's getting easier all the time.
Because the concentration level's so high, you're very much aware of who's on the road around you. You're checking your mirrors most of the time. Certainly after today, I'm more conscious of who's about, who's behind.
I've been driving for nearly 10 years, so I've got an idea of how to drive, or I certainly thought I did before I came up here.
For course 18, it's the end of week 1.
Although there is a final assessment at the end of the course, we actually assess them on a weekly basis, and it may be that their marks improve as they go along. Sometimes they might actually deteriorate, but it doesn't mean to say they're not making progress. But no, it's not all on one drive at the end of the day. We're quite happy to see how they're getting on from week to week, and they also see these reports to see how they're doing as well.
Police officer, he mustn't allow the adrenaline to overtake the occasion. He has to be prepared to handle his car in such a fashion and his adrenaline that he gets the job done safely.
This is a classic example of red mist taking over, basically. When you're trying to pursue a vehicle, the actual pursuit becomes more important than the drive. The red mist takes over, and that's when you can lose control and end up through a shop window, or even worse.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Well, the first thing we're going to do is teach them the recognition of a skid. And how we do that, we basically talk about the causes of skids. Then we show them the very basics in the short time we've got them. By the time they've finished the session, they're greatly improved their confidence, which i.e. makes better drivers. We like to get in the car and then we'll get up there and have a look at the various road surfaces and then introduce the skid accordingly. Okay?
Okay.
So we've got two skid pans. They're both constructed of 3 different types of surface. I've got a tar macadam surface, concrete, and another surface called granolithic, which is very smooth and it's supposed to imitate black ice. Both the pans are continuously watered with fresh water, to which is added about 2 gallons of engine oil in the morning, so it makes for a nice slippery surface. We use cars mainly without ABS, rear-wheel drive cars, which have got treaded tyres at the front, which are the normal tyre pressures and tread depth, and specially constructed slick tyres at the rear, which are pumped up to about 80 pounds per square inch. So the idea is to make the car slide and skid at very low speeds. We can induce a skid at approximately about 15 miles an hour. Here the students are in a rear-wheel drive vehicle to experience and overcome rear-wheel skids.
Speed is the basic cause. It's a combination of, we'll say, speed, coarse steering, as you said, Matthew, harsh acceleration, and of course this excessive or sudden braking. It could be our own fault, it could be lack of awareness, reacting either slow or overreacting. So I'm going to take it on here and keeping close to the tyres as we go around close to the tyres, just swinging it all the way around. Balance the car. Now we're coming to the ground, we'll just pick up the drive a little bit, and so you'll find the car goes into a skid. Do you feel it? It doesn't take much at all. So you can see what happened. The power was just a little bit too much for the rear wheels, and of course the car broke away. You think about the driver who suddenly comes out in the morning and finds it's frozen and, you know, a very cold morning, jumps in his car having thawed it out, and as he goes round there, he quietly sees the cars in front sliding, but it doesn't really apply to him, and what does he do? Panics and goes under. Foot brake, doesn't it? Right? And I will coax you along a little bit till we get to the point where I want you to really feel it. And the only way you're going to feel it is make it happen. The minute the back breaks away, as it's a rear wheel drive, what do they say? You drive in your bottom, because all the movement is in the back. And you can feel the movement. The minute you feel that, off the gas. Remove the cause, because it's too much right foot. Well, obviously the cars in front have given us information. So when we come off the gas, next thing is, if the back moves away from us, early steering to try to correct. So we steer into it. So we nice balance the car. When the car brakes to the left on a skid, come off the gas and steer delicately in the direction the car brakes away to the left. If the car brakes the way to the right on a skid, then again same thing, off the gas, steer delicately to the right, balance the car at all times before you reapply the accelerator. Now say that you identify it late, your recognition is late, so the back of the car is at a greater angle. Again, you have to wait that little bit longer. It will mean that you'll have to steer that little bit more. Not only steer into it, but steer to balance the car before you go back on that drive. Because if you go back on the drive to it, you can induce a secondary skid. A little bit right. Feel it? Staying off the gas, staying off. You have to steer, do you feel? Yeah, you feel it? Keep it. Back to the tyres, come on. Looking ahead, relaxing. That's it. You can breathe every third lap. Come on. Here we go, keep off the gas, we'll hold the right foot. You feel it?
Oh yes!
Breathing, Jack, breathing. Where we go, come on. Keep it going, look ahead, that's it, stroke it through. Right, keep it going, go on, push it through. Come on, that's it. Identify and correct that a bit earlier. Greater the tempo, the quicker the recognition and identification. That's it. Right, let's come to the part which I think is the most important. The excessive or sudden braking. Have you ever gone home off night duty and can't remember the last half mile or so? Yeah. Fatigue? We've all experienced that. Okay, think about it. Think about driving up here. Think about that you're not quite awake. Think about the child running out, the old deer, and just putting the brake hard on. Here we come, lining it right up. Can you see the pedestrian? There's a kid there. Just straight in. Right? Now we say, what happened there?
You put the brake on suddenly on a slippery surface, you lost your steering completely?
Completely. So the definition of a skid is, who would like to volunteer?
and one or more wheels loses
normal grip with the road surface.
So what would happen if, say for instance, the danger was coming to the right? The natural thing for anybody, or left, Simon, would be not only hit the brakes but to steer away from the danger, is that right? So let me do that. Coming up here, lining it up again, think of the vehicle, it's moving, it's still coming out, he's looking my way but he's not doing it. Brake, steer. Feel the lock, Simon. Feel it. Is there anything left?
No, it's all on.
Full on. Still in the brake. How I have to get that back simply is I have to release the brake. And that is not natural to do. Right, here we go. Brake, steer, release. There's the danger. I want to go left. Brake, steer, release. Take it round. The minute I released, it allowed me the wheels to catch a bit of the road, rotate, and take me where I had placed the car. Right? What we call cadence braking. Let me take this out a minute. Well trusted book, Roadcraft. Cadence braking, it's described here. Repeated application of the brakes enables you to obtain some steering control during the braking. Apply the brakes firmly to lock the wheels momentarily and then release them to allow the wheels to rotate, so you regain steering. Always remember you're trying to make time and space for yourself. If you've identified a problem in time, therefore, hit the brake, release, allow the wheel to rotate. I'm coming up to this white dot now, lining it right up, punching this brake right in, positive, and releasing it. Keeping it a straight line. So if there's any movement, I'll steer. Here we go. Brakes. Off. Off. Feel it? As I come off the brake, the next time, I'll say, I can't get through there. I'll steer the direction, hopefully, and take me away from the danger. Does that make sense? So it's to the left, lining it right up. As I hit the brake, quietly steer away from the danger. The danger's immediately in front of me now. Here I'm going to go. So hit the brake, bang, steer. Brake, steer. Brake, steer. Away from the danger. Quite happy now. Yeah. Don't forget, don't let steering dominate it. The most important thing is to get that braking punched in to start with. Are you quite happy with that?
And what most of them forget to do is remove the cause of the skid by either releasing the accelerator on the rear wheel skid or releasing the foot brake on the cadence braking.
What's good? Release. That's it. Good. Better there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well done.
That was a good one.
That's enough speed. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Right. Brake. Bang. Steer. Bang. Steer. Bang. Steer.
Cadence braking will only work on a vehicle that isn't fitted with ABS. The ABS system works automatically and relies on consistent pressure by the driver on the brake pedal.
On the other skid pan, John's squad is driving a front-wheel drive vehicle.
In a front wheel skid, the car carries straight on when you're expecting it to turn left or right. As with rear wheel skids, release the accelerator and, if there's room available, steer in the direction the car is skidding to regain the grip. Alternatively, you can leave the steering as it is until the grip returns. How are you getting on?
All right, I certainly enjoyed the skid pan. I mean, we weren't doing excessive speeds or anything, but it certainly does make you wonder what it's like if you were doing 40 and over. But it certainly gives you a lot of confidence.
Today, the class make their first long run out into Suffolk. It is time for them to develop their newfound skills.
No one in front now, one behind but going away quite rapidly. Coming into a right-hander, there's a bend sign to the right, the chevrons, and double bend to the right. Mirror, braking, looking for vision ahead. It's quite tight, I think I'm going to need second gear here. Getting the brakes on, flipping the throttle, second gear, looking through the bend to accelerate, maintaining the drive through the bend, accelerating now, positioning over, maintaining this gear for the next bend to the left, positioning out to try and see as far as possible round the bend,
Putting the drive on through the bend now, one towards, none behind. Accelerating now. Road goes round to the left, junction to the right, no one at the junction.
So think it through systematically. Identify your hazards. We've got a right-hand bend coming. Where do I want to be? I want to be on the near side. So mirror, near side position. How fast do I want to be going? Well, that's going to be dependent upon the limit point. So you sort the speed out. Right, now the speed is set. What gear do I want? I want a third gear, and then pick up the drive and power it through. So think it through systematically. Think system, and you'll do it systematically. It's started to move. Right, now get your foot in the bucket. Now chase it. Keep your foot in the bucket and just keep chasing it. Go on, in the bucket and keep it there. Just keep chasing it, your foot in the bucket and just keep chasing it. Go on, in the bucket and keep it there. Just keep chasing it, keep it in the bucket. Keep chasing it. Go on, chase it. See if you can catch it. I guarantee you can't. Go on, keep chasing it. Keep chasing it. Keep on going at it. Try and catch it. You can't. Because it's always opening for you, and there isn't the performance in the vehicle. Once that limit point starts to run, you just haven't got the performance in the vehicle to catch it. Prove a point? So if nothing else, it's only to try and prove that to your confidence, to say, well, when it goes, yeah, I believe that now, I can get my foot down and I can believe that the vision is opening, and provided you keep an eye on the limit point and it is going away from you, everything's fine. Try and vary the pressure on the accelerator pedal according to the condition of the road surface. Being a front-wheel drive vehicle, if you apply a bit too much acceleration, the weight is transferred to the back of the vehicle. Under acceleration, all vehicles, front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, will sit down at the back and the front end will become light. In a rear-wheel drive car, that's quite a desirable thing, but in a front-wheel drive, of course, the power has been transmitted through the front wheels, and with them being light, they're far more likely to wheel spin. So it's even more important to vary the pressure of the accelerator pedal as you accelerate away. This next little bit of road is actually quite good for looking at limit points and driving using acceleration sense, because as you're aware, there's two ways of losing speed. You can use the brakes, or what is probably a more finessed way of driving is to use acceleration sense to recognise the fact you're going to need to lose some speed, and using the accelerator to use engine compression to slow the car. Have a little bit of a look at that as we run down through this road. So what you're seeing going in through the eye is having a direct relation to what your right foot is doing. As the visioning is increasing, the right foot is going down and driving that vision, and as it starts to decrease, it's lifting in tune with that vision, and thereby relieving you some of the workload over the brake pedal. It won't work on all bends, but it will work on a lot.
But no, that was nice.
What I like as well is watching the mannerisms of the other drivers, because you can see the ones who are progressive who want to overtake and the ones who are just out for a drive, and that's from watching you this morning, because you can actually see what they're going to be doing and watching their wheels if they're going to come out, and that gives you that you're just planning well ahead.
That's right. I mean, if they're travelling sort of at a set following distance and they're directly behind, then they're just telegraphing to us that they're going to be staying behind that vehicle.
Yeah.
If they're in contact like we would be and sort of towards the white line, then they're threatening, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're looking to go.
Retaining the outside lane, conscious of backing conscious of this Sierra here, looking to overtake. I think he's aware of my presence now. Looking through the corner, back on the drive.
No, that worked well. Nice.
I enjoyed that.
And a better commentary.
Yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better.
It's when we're back on the windy, slow, twisty.
That's when I've got a problem.
Braking a little bit firmer. A little bit firmer on the brakes to make sure you're in at 30. Because you're going to need to drop a gear in a minute. See the windows?
Yeah.
You can use them like mirrors. There's not a lot of vision or movement around that bend at the moment. It's going to cause you too much of a problem. Using reflections in shop windows to extend your vision can warn you of all kinds of hazards around a bend. Yeah, project your vision, get it up a bit further. That was an interesting little comment. I've got to just ask you about this. There's a bus stop on the left-hand side. There's nobody waiting there. Probably waiting for a bus. Who?
No. What I meant to say was I'm anticipating a bus somewhere up here because he's probably picked the passengers up, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, I got you.
Along 40 miles an hour, mirrors in a steady stream of traffic. There's brake lights ahead. Don't know what he's braking for because the glint on the windscreen. So I'm going to ease right off now. There's a double bend, first one to the right, there's brake lights showing all ahead, so I'm just easing right off with a solid white line, mirrors, solid white line. There's obviously there's a lorry up ahead, mirrors. I'm going to take it a second gear here with a slow on the road.
Why are you going to take a second gear?
Just to hold myself back.
Good. To control speed with engine
Control
compression.
speed, yeah. A windy road, not as main as the road we've just come off. There we go, into a national limit. Mirrors.
What was up in front of us?
Sorry?
What was up in front of us?
Well, there's a car. Didn't see that. No.
Wrong. The JCB, as we came into that road and you raised your vision, the JCB was up in front of us, well in view, and then he disappeared around the left-hand bend.
Right.
The point I was making there was, here we are, just entering a national speed limit. What are we going to do? Put our foot down, yeah? But what immediately we're going to catch up on.
Yeah.
And the clue there was the Metro came around the bend and the brake lights.
Yeah.
Now that is very pertinent and very, whatever you're talking about, that's, oh, brake lights there, mirror, just ease off, there must be something around the bend. Even if you hadn't seen the JCB before, you should have been thinking, danger.
Yes.
If you just park it here, that would be great. Good. Yeah, okay. Right, what do you think of that then?
I thought the driving was okay, but again, my commentary, I'm not happy with it at all.
The mind's on overload, really, with the work that we did in the first week, and of course with the added thing of the introduction now of a commentary where you're having to concentrate slightly on that as well. The mind and the brain are just on total overload, and I think given another couple of days and it will all start to fall into place.
Hi Louise, how's it going?
Yeah, not so bad. We've not had too bad a day. They're struggling a little bit after the weekend because we've had such a break really, and of course the bank holiday. Skidding yesterday morning, so we lost a bit of time on that, and it just seems that now they're out in the high performance vehicles that the timing's just gone a little bit. Matthew is doing very well. He's starting to get some nice drives together and his commentary's beginning to relate well. Sue's had a bit of a mixed day, and really it's not as bad as she's making out. Yeah, so all in all we're progressing nicely, and at least they're responding well and they're trying to do their best.
Can't ask them more than that.
No, that's right. That's good.
All right, great.
Just joining a very busy motorway, mirror, outside lane, placing my vehicle in the lane which is closest to the motorway. It gives me the best field of view into the motorway. Looking in the driver's door mirror. Now I can see my space coming, so increasing my road speed now. We indicate we're going to move into a space. Final check of the mirrors, and then we can move out into the centre lane also. Looking ahead. Vehicle coming up on the outside lane, and after he's gone past we'll be able to move out. So mirror indicate, out we go. Watching this white van, he just braked there and he's very close to two other vehicles. I'm happy he's going to stay there now. So we go with the traffic flow. We have a lot of heavies up ahead of us in the near side and in the centre lane. It's going to cause a knock-on effect of the other vehicles to move out around them, watching the white van behind the red heavy. Very good thing to try is the 2-second rule. There's a good idea of the separation gap, that when the leading vehicle, the vehicle ahead of you, passes a landmark, you should be able to count 2 seconds before you arrive at that landmark yourself. The 2-second rule should give us the correct stopping distance. If the vehicle in front was to stop suddenly, we should be able to pull up and stop safely behind it. It's one of the main reasons, I believe, that drivers do pile into one another on motorways. Purely and simply, they just do not look far enough ahead. Travelling on motorways and roads sometimes where there's not a great deal of activity creates boredom. And this has the same effect, that the vision of the driver drops. And instead of looking well in the distance, as I am now, and I can see what's developing, and I've got time to react, is that the driver's vision will drop probably no more than a couple of 100 yards. So therefore they can't see what's developing further ahead, and then they react to the brake lights and invariably they can't stop. If you find yourself touching the brake pedal, instantly the motorist in front brakes. The message in that, you're following too close. You should be able to ease your foot off the accelerator, if necessary apply the brakes, without any degree of urgency. Now the Mercedes is tailgating behind the yellow little pickup truck. And in fact, everybody in front of us, literally everyone, are following far, far too close. So I'm just holding back here and having a good separation gap so I have the ability to pull up and stop. Do intend taking the next exit, 300 yards. So I'm going to indicate my intention to come over. Match my speed to the heavy. And now make the exit. We have a sharp bend to the left, slight loss of vision, so mirror, lightly on the brakes, a lot of skid marks on the road surface here. Obviously other people have got this bend wrong here with all these skid marks, so we'll ease the car through. Again, there's a super elevation on the curve. Agricultural vehicles, two-way traffic and end of motorway regulations. Double white line system up the centre of the carriageway. Just keeping ourselves nicely settled on the road here. Outer edges of the carriageway have a lot of gravel and grit, so we don't put our tyres on that. A roundabout system. I'm going to turn right, mirror. Again, a lot of skid marks here, so again, a rather deceptive approach to this. With a change of road surface, again, taking in the full field of vision into second gear, and now easing the car through smoothly. Look at the exit side, mirror.
If it's safe. Watch the puddle. They do conceal potholes. Back to the near side for vision. Now we don't want to really run through that water. Can you hear it gushing up on the road wheels? Because those wheels are on a fairly dry road surface. Those are struggling to gain grip, so what will tend to happen is that the vehicle will tend to try to splay towards the curb as a result. The weather affects how far you can see and how well your vehicle performs. You must allow for it. For example, always check your brakes after driving through deep water. When weather conditions reduce visibility, you should reduce your speed and keep checking it on the speedo. In fog, don't use the headlight main beam when behind another vehicle. Apart from dazzling the driver, it will cast a shadow onto the fog ahead and impair the driver's view. Also, the brightness of rear fog lights can mask brake lights, so keep your distance. But it's not only bad weather conditions that can cause problems.
This light and dark flashing causes a strobing effect on the windscreen, and it has a very detrimental effect on the eye, to the extent that you often miss little bits of vision and observations that you would otherwise make. So when you go into one of these sort of strobe effects, have a good look into the darkened areas for potential danger.
It's the start of the final week, and the class is on the night run.
Remember that the headlamps now form the limit point of vision. Pick the speed up around the curve, picking it up, looking for your cat's eyes. Marker post present there, indicating a left-hand curve. That's it. Just holding it back until we regain the road. Nice example there of red marker post indicating a right-hand curve. Warning triangle over there, so we know the severity of this curve. Red one's coming up, so we've got a bend right. This one looks fairly sharp, so I'm thinking of really killing the speed down. So pretty damn sharp. Rumble strips may be entering a place name. If we're doing that, then we can expect a reduction in speed. There's lots of warning triangles down there. Things are more difficult to see at night because contrast falls, colours fade, and objects become indistinguishable. It's more tiring on the eyes, obviously, and of course with that comes fatigue. The eyes are straining, trying to pick out distant objects. But the way to guard against that is to keep good ventilation in the car. Keep the fan on if necessary. Keep the temperature cool. Hot air does not help, and the very least, if that is not working, then one should be thinking about stopping the vehicle and actually getting out and actually going for a coffee, or at the very least going for a little walk somewhere to try and waken oneself up. But it's a very difficult thing, but once we know that fatigue is setting in, then really we should be guarding against it. Example there of the solid white line system and how many cat's eyes that there are. The more white paint there is in the centre of the road, more cat's eyes that there are. So now back onto main beam, and now as the cat's eyes start to come towards, now we can actually apply the drive. Now again we've got to back off because we've lost the cat's eyes. Maybe a slight hill crest here. So as soon as we regain the white road, we can start to regain the speed. And we can now see that it snakes off into the distance. We can use him as a guide, back onto dip beam and drive towards it, drive hard. Okay, there's a house up there with street lighting, so the road must go left to right of that. We can also see headlights coming up over the top of the hill crest there. So potentially we've got to be prepared to revert back to dips again.
Yesterday, the squads were trained and tested in the use of blues and twos, the blue light and two-tone horn, an integral part of the course. All of Course 18 passed, but there's still the final assessment drive on Friday to worry about.
Before they weren't necessarily seeing actual danger and certainly not potential danger. Now they're actually linking what they're seeing to the likely leading circumstances from that. And certainly in terms of potential danger, they're planning their drives much better.
There are 10 categories that make up the assessment and final examination. The first is hazard recognition, the ability to extend vision, to recognize hazards, anticipate hazards, and make observation links.
Up ahead we've got our lights gathered together, which means a possible roundabout.
Hazard prioritization, the ability to recognize more than one hazard.
Yeah, make sure there's a nice gap in front to go to.
Judgment of speed and distance, the use of brakes and acceleration sense in relation to distance. Concentration, including the driver's temperament. Deliberation,
Mirror early course, present yourself to the oncoming vehicle.
making the correct decision and carrying it through correctly.
If you wait until you're almost there and then pop out and there's something there, you're sort of left stranded.
The sequence of the system of car control, consistently using the system in its correct order, and timing of the system, starting the system in enough time. Commentary, a fluent, informative narrative that does not disadvantage the drive.
Got pedestrian on the near side mirrors, he's well off the road.
Smoothness,
Not got our entry, we're planning
smooth
to stop
use
here,
of the
obviously.
accelerator, clutch, brakes, gears and steering.
There's your gap.
Appropriate progress, making full use of speed limits and the performance of the car through gears whilst always being safe.
You've heard of the driver's school black dog, have you? No, there's always a black dog that's running around on final drive day and the superintendent's granny that suddenly runs out in front of you, you know? Well, we've arranged a white van for you today.
Obviously, I'm looking forward to hopefully passing it, but the exam is going to be a big worry, I think, for everybody.
Their abilities are well above and up to standard for the requirements of the incident response level, and they've done really quite well.
That they've all peaked at the right time now, and I'm quite well satisfied that tomorrow should not hold too many problems.
That'd be interesting for them. Give them something different to think about.
Still, they're a good bunch, so they have any problems.
It's the last day. The bank holiday has cost Course 18 valuable time.
Both the lights, yeah.
And Simon has lost 2 further days, having to give evidence in court.
Right, morning ladies and gents. Well, here we are then, the day we've all been waiting for. Doesn't seem like nearly 3 weeks, was it, since we was last in here? Now, for goodness sake, it's not going to be any different to what you've been doing the last few days, all right? We're not looking for anything different. Just do as your instructors have been telling you for the last 3 weeks there'd be no problems. So go out there and enjoy yourselves.
The final drive is an independent assessment, so that they have got the feeling of butterflies, so that they are nervous for it, so that it's trying to simulate, if you like, their first emergency call, just to see what they're going to be like under a little bit of stress, a bit of pressure.
How do you feel?
Nervous. Very nervous. At the end of the day, you're doing exactly the same as what they've taught you. But it's the fact that it's classed as a final drive. So this is the time that you find out whether you've done it or not, really.
How am I feeling? Quietly confident, but very apprehensive and nervous. I'm confident that I can do what I've been taught to do, but obviously it's test conditions and there's slightly more pressure.
I certainly didn't think I was going to make it this far. So again, I'm still nervous as usual, so I'll just see what happens. I'm just going to take it as I have throughout the course.
And yesterday it went very well, so I'm just hoping it all holds together today.
Just need to keep my concentration up and do the best I can do, really.
A few more days would be a bit more practice, but I think we're ready for it now.
Well, good morning, Steve.
Hi, sir.
How are you this morning?
Nervous?
Good. I wouldn't expect you to be anything else. What I'd like you to do to start with, please, is run through a cockpit drill for me, and then I'll give you some information about the route we're going to use.
No problems. Okay. Seat I'm comfortable with. Mirrors I'm also comfortable with. Looking down the housing of the vehicle, I'm happy that all doors are closed. Coming to the roundabout, got a mirror, we've got nothing behind for the time being. As we approach the roundabout again, planning to stop, looking for a gap to go. Braking down as we've got brake lights in front. Take a roll in first, as the gap's there for us. Coming round, quite happy with that one. Quick mirror check and indicating right. Got brake lights in front, braking gently. Looking for a gap, there's our gap, keeping in first. Watching the vehicle to the near side as we do, pedestrian crossing with nobody on it. Quick look over the left shoulder as we come round into this slightly built up area, watching the vehicle on the left hand side with the brake lights. Got a junction to the left and to the right mirror, keeping the position just the offside. Slight change in road surface, slowing the road as the road.
So I'm pleased to tell you that you have passed the course. You will be classified as a response driver.
Thanks very much. Cheers, sir.
So well done for that.
Thank you, Neil. I think the majority of it probably stay with me. Even when you drive home after the end of the day, you find yourself using the system. I'm even explaining it to my wife when I'm driving as well, so hopefully, yeah, it will stick. It's a good system. I've enjoyed the course.
I'm now going to look to go in before the slow-moving vehicle. I've got nothing behind me. That vehicle's going left. He's allowing me to go, so I'm going to go in, thanking him for his courtesy. Now I've got a slow-moving truck ahead of me, looking to select a second gear.
You have reached the standard that qualifies for a response driver, so you have passed the course in the final drive. Well done.
Well, it went all right in the event. Very nerve-wracking. I still feel a bit shaky now, but according to Louise, I had quite a good drive.
Smooth drive, use of progression, use of speed in the right places, and I have no hesitation whatsoever in saying that was a very good drive.
Thanks very much,
so
Sarge.
congratulations.
I passed this.
An excellent example of a safe, systematic, smooth drive with progression in the right places.
Yeah.
So I'm actually pleased to say that passed with ease.
Lost my confidence completely before I turned upon the course as a result of a serious road traffic accident I was involved. But I think it's all down to the instructors. They did in fact make me, push me all the way. So if it hadn't been for them, I think I'd still feel the same. Well, that was my vehicle. They had to cut us out. It was a terrible accident, and that was only at 30 miles an hour.
First of all, congratulations on successfully completing the course. We started with 18 and we finished with 18. That's certainly not something that happens on every course, and it's a credit to yourselves that you've all reached the stage where you can be classified as response drivers. Roadcraft gives you positive attitudes towards driving, positive attitudes towards being safe. If you continue to build on those, then you won't have a problem.
It's been very nice working with them, and really their ability, I can't question that now.
Right, Matthew Weston, coming back on this way. Well done, Matthew. Congratulations. All right. Suzanne White. Congratulations, Suzanne. Yeah. Claire Seal. Well done, Claire. Yeah. Stephen Wright. Well done, Steve. Good drive this morning. Thank you very much. Lawrence Roberts. Congratulations, well done.
Thanks, sir.
Well done, Simon. Nadine Baines.
Well, I think that one of the biggest things really is the ability just to raise the vision. Without vision you can't plan, and without planning you're a disaster just driving along looking for an incident to occur. We don't want motorists reacting to things, we want them to plan for them, to anticipate. The whole aspect of doing this video is to try and make the public safer drivers.
And the officer that attained the highest marks on this particular course is Stephen Wright. Well done, Steve.
Thanks, sir.
Well, nice and near the front. Well done. Congratulations.
And really I think it is all just down to the anticipation, the thinking of what if, rather than just driving for what they see. Always just considering the scenario, if you like, of what could possibly happen, and planning for not only the actual hazards that lay ahead in the road, but the actual potential ones as well.